I could say if you don't know the guy next to me and you've been drinking fine wine for the last 30 years, you may have been living under some kind of rock. Or maybe you're like from Europe and you just like live in Burgundy and you're like, and you only know like 10 people. Randall Grahm, welcome.
Thanks, Kyle.
Sincere treat having you here. Best Wines Tasting Room. My goodness, I was actually drinking your wine when I was like 16 years old. Is it okay to say that? I'm only 20, so it's only been about 4 years. But seriously, I want to start off straight away with a question, because I was thinking about this the other day when we just bought the 2013 Van Grida cigar.
Yep.
How many people were trying to sell pink wine 25 years ago?
Not very many, and not very successful.
What?
We gave it the old college try, though, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and the motivation at that point was?
Well, it was the wrong motivation. In my case, It was not the right motivation. I mean, I was looking, I suppose, for a cash flow wine. But in honesty, the wine that I called Van Gris, inverted commas, back then was not really a Van Gris. I wanted to make my red wine darker and more concentrated, because in those days you had one had insecurities about, is my wine intense enough? So it was really kind of an operation to improve the red wine, and the pink wine was just kind of a byproduct, if you will.
Right.
So I came into it from totally the wrong direction.
And now pink wine is hot as balls.
It seems that way, and you wonder if things ever get better. Most things don't get better, but pink wine has gotten better. It's clearly gotten better.
Well, yours has changed. It's got a little more of that Provençal type vibe to it, looks to me now.
I'm so glad you noticed it. Really there was a kind of a sea change when I sold the large brands 7 years ago, or 8 years ago now. I decided if I was going to say stuff, it needed to be true. What a concept! What a concept! So, for example, if I'm going to call a wine Van Gris, it needs to be Van Gris. This is a radical idea. And so we changed the style of the wine to actually make it a proper Van Gris. So it's no longer a byproduct of red. It's essentially bespoke grapes for Van Gris. So we pick the Grenache at 21.5 bricks instead of 26 bricks. And therefore we don't have to mess with it. We don't have to acidulate it. We don't have to add water back to it or take it for a spin in the spinning cone. We can make it just a more seamless kind of product, and that works really, really well. So the other thing is that everyone has insecurities, but maybe I'm a little more insecure than most. But I worried in the day that the pink wine wasn't the right color, so we would always, calibrate the color, and we'd add red wine back and make it a beautiful color. And I always wanted the nose to be very expressive and very flamboyant, so we used designer yeasts and enzymes and things to really kind of amp it up. And one of the things I found amazingly was by doing less of it, we were ultimately able to make a more interesting wine. By less is more.
Yeah.
By making it more subtle, not as exaggerated, the wine invites you in, and it's not as fatiguing. It's like a very witty person at a party. Sometimes they can be too much,
Yeah.
So I was trying too hard, and by doing a little bit less, actually make a much more interesting wine.
And it sounds like doing it in the vineyard.
Doing it in the vineyard and doing it in the winery in a very, if you will, hands-off kind of way. So again, we use indigenous yeast, no enzymes, no special effects, really trying to make something uninflected, if you will.
Wow. Super bueno. That is really good result, especially with like 13s from France this year being kind of...
For pink, they should be okay. For pink. Still? Hey.
This is really friggin' good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I want to talk about, not necessarily about Pinot Noir, but your motivation for jumping into the business was Pinot, right? That was your...
Right.
That was your...
Yeah.
I'm going to make Clos de la Roche in California type
exactly.
deal.
Completely misguided. Because I'm a guy, I got to attempt to do things that are really difficult and show the world how friggin' clever I am. Because I'm a guy.
Because you're a guy.
Because I'm a guy.
You never get lost. You never... Yeah.
No. So Pinot Noir, of course, is the holy grail. Everyone knows that Burgundy is the most difficult wine to replicate. And it is really difficult. And I misjudged how absolutely difficult it was to make a great Pinot Noir in California. And I made actually a pretty bad Pinot Noir the first year out. And then I bought grapes from Oregon and the wine was very nice. But I had to go to Oregon to get the grapes, and I was living in California. I thought, this is not a really sustainable project. And so ultimately I thought, I want to be in the wine business, but Pinot Noir this is just too darn difficult. I better try something that's a little easier. And the idea is if you grow grapes that actually belong where you grow them, it's going to be easier. And Rhone grapes are a much better suited to California than Pinot, in my humble estimation.
Is Grenache easier to work with than Pinot Noir? It's got its own little higgledy-piggledy kind of...
Yeah, but Grenache, there are mysterious things about Grenache. I have to say there are some mysterious things. But if you grow Grenache in a cool enough area, you don't overcrop it, the soils are not too fertile, you can make pretty good wine. And use good clones of Grenache. Some of the clones of Grenache are just disastrous and overproduce.
Like Fresno clones, kind of like...
Well, kind of like the original UC Davis clones were not so hot, but
now you're finding decent clones. I mean, because you've been making this wine. This is, by the way, 2013 Clos de Gilroy Grenache.
Correct.
Le Gil de Loire de Gil. And you've been making this wine since the start pretty much as well.
Correct.
Right.
Well, forgive the old joke, but these are made from lots that are clos but no cigar. So in other words, for your viewing audience, we attempt to make, with our Grenache lots, we want to make weapons grade Grenache.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't come out quite weapons grade, and so it cascades down from cigar, and that becomes our Gilroy. Can you pass the dump bucket?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
The sourcing on this has probably changed.
Indeed, it used to come from Gilroy, and again, in the interest of truth in advertising, if you look carefully at the label, it says the wine formerly known as Clos de Gilroy. Anyways, it's not
small.
It's small, but it's there. So this actually the Grenache comes from a vineyard in Greenfield, California, in Monterey County. It's a cool climate Grenache. The Alta Loma Vineyard, which is a lovely vineyard. And this wine sees no oak at all. It's bottled fairly early, and we try to keep the fruitiness and the freshness of Grenache and the pepperiness of Grenache, which is, oops, I'm swirling it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Bad habit.
Yeah. Long story. Yeah.
Clockwise in the northern hemisphere.
But you talk about Grenache, and what I discovered in California is how many people just aren't really that great at working with it still.
Well, there's still
not to knock other vineyards, etc. But I'm a big Chateauneuf monkey.
Yeah.
Sure. I love great Côte du Rhône. I love great and with Grenache, to me, it's still kind of like this doesn't seem that hard.
Well, there are some tricks. The trick is got to be a cool climate site. Cool climate, good clone. Don't overcrop it. There's probably 3 or 4 other tricks. Make sure it's ripe. Don't over extract it because Grenache can be bitter as well. I think those are the main tricks.
And does it always need a little help, a la Chateauneuf?
Often needs a little help.
Here in California as well.
Grenache as a standalone generally doesn't cut it. Reyes can pull it off, but they're one of the few that can. It needs sometimes just a little augmentation in the structure, just to get a little, fill in some of the little bits that are missing.
This one's awesome. Is this part of that vintage? I mean, it was 13 the bomb in this neck of the woods, as it was in a few places. Or
No, but thank you.
Yeah, the wine's just got that sweet, dense core of fruit while having that lightness that I think you're gunning for.
Yep.
Yeah, and the wine's just a joy to drink.
Thanks. A little chill on this, I think, is really, really nice. This is a good summertime wine.
So do you ever? I see you are making one Pinot Noir right now, but do you ever have hopes of jumping back into Pinot Noir again? Again, returning back. The prodigal son returns back to where his inspiration initially started, et cetera, or do you ever have that itch with all the new sites and SLH here and Centerville Hills there and Oregon there and Yamhill Carlton there and
it's kind of like pining after an old girlfriend. You know, it's kind of like the ship has sailed.
Right.
It has sailed. And you just, at a certain point, you just have to kind of get over it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's how I am. I should be. That's how I should be with Pinot. I mean, I'm sure it will continue to obsess me on some level, but I just need to get over it.
Yes. Step away.
Step away. Step away from the cepage.
Well, I know you're a busy dude. You got to run today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For giving us some time today to kick-ass new releases, new old releases. These are the classics right here.
Yep. Yep.
And you know, we've been through infusions and this and that and ice wines and so forth and so on. And wouldn't you know it, man? These still rock it. Gosh darn it. Thank you.
My pleasure, Kyle.
For swinging by today.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Keep on knocking them dead, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cheers.